Hey everybody, it's Sean. Some of you guys know me. I was a rider on the TransAm last year, and I wanted to take some time and go over some drawing stuff with you guys. As several of you guys know, last year during the TransAm, I didn't do traditional journal. Instead, I decided to do daily drawings from our campsites and created them or compiled them into kind of a deck of cards. So, so these are the originals from last year. Or each day I did a drawing from our campsite, and then on the backs I did a little journal type entry. And I figured with the coronavirus, I might as well take some time and go over some drawing stuff with everybody and show you my process. So I have my desk kind of set up. I have my GoPro here. I'll probably be videoing on my phone as well. The drawing that I am going to be doing today is a drawing from the TransAm. This is going into a height recreation area from Blanding. Some of you guys may recognize it, and that is height recreation area. So first of all, I use artist trading cards. They are a great size for what I like. They are 2.5 by 3.5 inches. They're a great little medium to use. I start out using a mechanical pencil, and then go in with Micron pens, specifically 01 and 08. Those are the best sizes, and if I do any solid blacks, I use a Sharpie marker. And that's just what I enjoy using. So I am what's considered a classically trained artist, so I did go to school for art. I didn't really use my degree for a number of years, just because I got distracted doing all sorts of crazy adventures. I was in AmeriCorps for 4 years, did some conservation, some wildland firefighting outside of that, then became a dispatcher. So I worked at a 911 dispatch center for about 3.5, 4 years. No, 2.5, 3 years. And then got a job down in Antarctica as a dispatcher for the Antarctic Fire Department. So because the summer season down there is October through February pretty much, I was able to take the summer and do the TransAm, and it was one of the greatest experiences in my life. I wanted to do the Atlantic coast this year, but this happens, and you change your plans and you just roll with the punches at times. So I was going to be a route leader this year. I will most likely be a route leader again next year, and I just enjoy biking. I'm not a fast biker. I'm not a racer of types. I can go fast if I really push myself, but some days it's just funner and more relaxing just to be on the trail and just enjoy it. So, as I said, this is a picture from Utah going into height recreation area. The cyclist is Natalia. She is the little speed demon of our group. last year. She left soon after this photo. She left me in the dust, and fortunately she was nice enough to wait for me down the road, where we took several other photos. But she's a great riding partner. I love her dearly. And yeah, so when you're sketching, you don't have to have everything exactly like the photo. I tend not to do photorealism. I just don't enjoy it as much. So my style is more loose, more of a sketchy style. And just for the sketching with pencil, I try to get the basic shapes, basic outlines, and once you go in with the pen, yes, you get more of the fine lines in that. This photo is a little interesting because it has a lot of depth and perception. I am making the cyclist a little bigger than the actual photo, and that's just a personal choice. Yeah, once you have the sketching done, then you'll go in. I start out with the Micron 01 size. This is the smaller size, and I get a lot of the fine lines and details. So going in, I tend not to do very bold lines. I keep them still a little sketchy, and then just where I need to, I'll start adding shading. I'll start getting more the defining features of the drawing. Like I said, I don't do photorealism. I do more of a sketch style. Well, and it's more of getting the idea and the feeling of the piece across instead of trying to get it perfect. I tried doing perfect drawings in the past. If I spend a lot of time on them, like multiple hours, I can get it, but I usually try to get all my drawings done in one sitting. During the TransAm, and when I was doing the landscape drawings, it would be usually like after dinner or after setting up camp, and it was a way for me to relax, so I wasn't trying to stress myself out by getting everything perfect. It was more of a let's just have fun and do something so I can remember or the experience. So that's the little cyclist, and with the 01 pen, and then I'm gonna go ahead and start the road. again, not trying to get all the details in, but more of the feel of the piece. So the grasses, instead of doing like every single blade of grass, it's more of the shape of the entire plant. And then go on the other side. Again, perspective is one of the big pieces of this drawing. So I'm trying to get everything right, but not perfect. Like a lot of times in drawings, you want to be careful not to put too much detail in. You want to keep it loose. You want to keep it more generalized, because I've found that I can get very quickly, I can over muddy a piece. So instead of just getting the general idea in, I try to get all these details in, and it just, instead of making it look nicer, it just gives it more of a dirty look. There's so much going on that you can't focus on things. So the same thing with the rocks in the picture. There's a lot of little tiny cracks and individual pieces, but instead I'm just going to kind of get the loose frame of it and get the feel of the walls. I will go in with shading in a second, and it will add to the dimension of it. So the sun's coming from this side, so there was this wall was much darker than the other, but I don't want to make it as dark as Natalia, the writer. So I'll add some of the shading, add some of the little textures of the rock wall. Oh, a lot of what I do recently, since the TransAm, has been people and almost portrait style. So faces and costumes, a lot of stuff inspired by like the Viking era and medieval style. So it's good to do something else every once in a while. Get landscapes in, work on backgrounds. That was one of the big reasons why I chose to do landscape drawings with the TransAm, is because I was really good at drawing people and drawing figures, but my backgrounds were just blank, and I wanted to challenge myself to do something that pushed my comfort zone, that allowed me to learn and develop as an artist. And I think that's, no matter what you do, if you're doing woodworking or drawing or painting, the more you challenge yourself to get out of your comfort zone, the better of an artist and really better individual you will become. It'll make you realize that it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay not to be perfect. and it's just something fun to do every once in a while. Do something different and just enjoy it. So what I'm doing now is the shadow cast from this rock wall. So I am getting more the darker shading in, just because it'll help add contrast. And then just building it up. I don't want to do all this like huge black wall. I try, especially on landscapes, I try to avoid using solid black unless you really want to add that contrast in. For this piece, I'm not doing a huge amount of contrast, especially right now. I'm just trying to get the rough shapes in. I'll go in with the other pens and probably go in again with the 01 size after just to get more of the details and that. So I tend to do these drawings pretty fast. When I was doing the TransAm, near the beginning of the route, I was taking probably about an hour and a half per drawing, and by the time we got into California, I had really gotten comfortable with it, so I wasn't spending more than 30-45 minutes on each drawing. I know that was just me being extremely comfortable with what I was doing. Definitely spend as much or as little time on each piece as you like, and just feel it out. What's your comfort level? So now that I have the first layer done with the 01 Micron pen, now I'm going in with the 08, and I'm going to add more of the darker solid lines. So with the 08, this is the pen that really gets that bold outline. I use it for outlines. I don't do a lot of shading with the 08. This is more of a time in the drawing where you're really defining everything. You're pulling things together. I'll most likely go back in and darken up Natalia just to give it more of that contrast. And again, I'm not going over every single line. I'm just getting the rough shape of it to give it more definition. So especially like this rock wall, I'll go along the edges first, and then kind of going into where each layer of the wall is. And so there's all these cracks that that help define the shape. And help give it dimension. And then coming over to the other side, the top of this, the wall on the left side is in the sunlight, so really just getting the outer edge, and then the areas that are more in the shadows are the areas that you want to focus the darker, bolder lines. And then the mountain in the far back, I'm going to go back in with the 01 and just add a little bit of shading to it. I'm not going to do a lot of outline because it's so far in the background. I don't want it to be forced to the front. I want to keep that dimension of the piece. And because it kind of, I can tell this side needs a little more shading, so I'll kind of do cross hatching. And I do cross hatching. I also, most of my shading is depending on how far the lines are apart. Not a traditional cross hatching style, but it's something that I developed over the years, just because that's what I like. Each person has their own preference, so just again figuring out what you want out of a piece and what you enjoy the most, because I know there's a lot of people that like the really smooth shading. A lot of people love color. I work primarily in black and white, and that's not because I don't know how to do color, it's just because I'm more comfortable working without it. And then I'm going to go back over on this side and do a little more shading, just to give it more of a contrast and more of a definition. I'm not doing every piece of the rock face, but just adding some elements. I do want to, I'm definitely going to go in and add a little bit of solid black into Natalia's jersey. Just to give it more of that focus, because this is where I want somebody's eye drawn towards. Because I want the bicyclist to be the focus of the piece instead of everything else. Now that I have everything finished with the drawing piece, one of the things that I'm going to do to finish it is I'm going to include a border around parts of the drawing, just to give it more of a finished look. This is more of a personal style that I enjoy, not something that needs to be done. So this is just something that I do to kind of bring everything together, to contain it, so it doesn't look as unrefined, unfinished. This is something that gives it more of a finished look. It's a part of my style that I've developed. I used to not do this, but again, it doesn't need to be perfect. And then just to finish everything, I'm going to add a couple more lines in the pavement within the box, just to really this is just adding contrast between what's within the frame and what's outside of it. And it's more of a way to define the frame of the piece. And it gives your eye a boundary to look within. Thank you everybody for joining in and watching, and I hope to see you guys when this coronavirus goes away. So keep on biking and stay inside.